7 o'clock, and it is time to call to order our regular scheduled meeting for November 7th, 2022. The Sand Springs Public Schools Board of Education. We have a roll call, please.
Mullen.
Here.
Novel. Wagers. Here. Wagon. Here. Gunn.
Here, please join me for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Every Board of Education meeting, we have an opportunity for the public to be heard, but you do have to sign in order to be on the agenda. Okay, no one has done so. So we'll move forward to really a part that we really enjoy about these meetings, and that is just celebrating people in our community and in our school district who have done extraordinary things that we like to recognize. And so we have a number of awards to give out tonight. That's really a highlight for us. And so we're going to start with Miss Jack Wagner.
Right. And I'm going to start with Mr. Blaze Schruppel.
All right.
He would come forward. I got something for you up here that you're going to love. Something more exciting than just a Mr. Schruppel and Miss Biggs. Would you join me up here? Superstar is an understatement for this young man. He has been through life's challenges. He was diagnosed with a type 3 form of brain cancer in December, and he has undergone brain surgery, chemotherapy, radiation, and he is an inspiration and a superstar for all of us. And I'm going to let Ms. Biggs just tell a little bit about his excitement at school and his encouragement.
I mean, just he definitely has had some excitement, just things keep happening to him, and we recognized him at the halftime. That was pretty cool. Just had a great celebration for you when he came back to school. But he has and you can tell just by standing up here, he has a smile on his face no matter what. Gets out of the car in the morning with a smile on his face. You see him in the hallway, he's got a smile. He loves being at school. He loves just being with people and learning. And I'm just like, I'm in awe because he's up against so much adversity that, every day could be a hard day, and I'm sure it is, but you wouldn't know it because he just always has that smile on his face. So I'm super proud of him. He's been through a lot for such a little guy.
Yeah, good job. We're all proud of you, and thank you so much for your encouragement. And this is your Sand Knight Spirit Award for outstanding achievement and accomplishments representing Sand Springs Public Schools and the community. But probably more exciting for you. Star of the shows cannot leave without pictures. Yeah, let's get you situated.
It is? Well, here you go. Kiss at your fingers. She said my tag is upside down. You're not gonna say anything. At least it had been like this all day because I was showing something anyway.
All right. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
That's Kate. Mike.
I get to do something equally as fun. I'm going to ask, and I'm going to pronounce your name wrong. I'm sorry. Caden, or is it Nate? And the last name is Bolt. Bolte. Come on up. Caden or Nate? Nate, come on up here, Nate. Nate, you talk about superstars, and we've got multiple superstars with us tonight. And I can't say this as well as Jessica Sprague wrote this note. So I'm just going to read what she wrote. And then I'm going to ask her to come up and join us as well. Because come on, you come on up, please. Because Jessica she's another superstar that we have. But we're going to recognize Nate tonight. What Jessica says was she says, Nate devoted many hours over the course of the last calendar year working on a special project for St. Francis Warren Clinic Maternal Fetal Medicine Department. I work at St. Francis, so I kind of like that. Nate designed and modeled a 21-week fetal heart to be used as a teaching and training tool for medical residents and expectant parents. Nate took special care in this project, knowing the real-world application and impact this tool would provide for the purpose of education and awareness. The process was enduring, and Nate handled every single challenge with determination and patience. There were many unforeseen obstacles in the design process and the production process. Nate never quit. Kind of like life, huh? I am immensely proud of him for sharing his talent in this capacity and doing so without seeking any special recognition. He is a true innovator, and I cannot wait to see the great things he has yet to achieve. Nate, thank you for what you have done and what you're going to do. So you can also get a Sandite Spirit Award and a $10 gift certificate. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to ask you to tell a little bit about what you actually built. I'm going to ask Ms. Sprague also to maybe share some other things if she would desire. You can have this one too. Tell us about the heart that you modeled and a little bit about the process.
So I 3D modeled a fetal heart for the hospital. It took a lot of work and research into actually figuring out how it can be done with the software we have and everything. And it was a fun project to take on. I'm really glad that I was able to do that for the hospital.
Cool.
Fantastic. So I just want to know, what's your future look like? What are you gonna be? What are you doing with yourself?
My plan is to get a degree in physics with a focus on astronomy,
Nice.
get my PhD in astrophysics.
Wow, impressive. Just go ahead and read me. I don't know. We're very proud of you.
Ms. Sprague, if you want to share anything, please.
I don't feel like he's taking quite enough credit here. Nate's fantastic. I'm gonna look at his parents because I mean, you guys made this, so he's wonderful and he works so hard and doesn't really put himself out there in a way that he expects a lot of praise from people. But if you could just see like half of the work that he produces, he's amazing. I'm super proud of him. And I'm so glad that he chose to jump into this and take on a couple of special projects here and there where others were kind of like, man, I don't have time for that. I'm not saying that you really had time for it either, but you did. So yeah, Nate's pretty great.
We're all about education and we're educating him, but he's also educating parents
Yeah.
and physicians and other people like that. So making a difference. I'm looking forward to the next 10 years and see what else this guy produces and everything. So thank you for what you do. Cool.
I'll get to do the next one and, community involvement and engaging our community and really getting people involved is a strategic goal of our district and of this board. And, but really, we don't have to work that hard at that because we have a great community where people are involved and organizations and individuals both really put a lot of time and energy into making our schools what they are. And so one of those individuals has been recognized tonight who I have a personal relationship with. He's actually on my staff and team at our church, but he's been recognized by Jamie Conrad, who leads our 21st Century Grant project and program. And so Michael Wilson, if you would come and join me here. Michael's the executive pastor of local missions at Church That Matters. And man, but even if he weren't in that role, he just loves Sand Springs. He's a graduate of our schools here, product of Sandites. And so we're really proud of who he's become and how he gives back to our community in so many ways. Jamie just recognized him specifically for his help and leadership, being on the board as a part of the team there for the 21st Century program. She says that he's been a big supporter of the program and shares the vision of creating an environment for students to thrive in youth development activities such as fine arts, physical fitness, and STEM. His passion and drive are contagious and pushes me to strive for excellence in our after school and summer programming. So, Michael, we really are thankful for you and the tireless work that you put in to achieving outstanding things, having a great accomplishments, representing Sand Springs Public Schools and the community at large. Jamie, would you like to come up and share anything additional?
So we kind of have a joke. My daughter says that he is the fifth Jonas brother. So we call him J5. But Michael is somebody that when I took on this role, you guys know how scared I was. And to have somebody love my babies the way that you love my babies
Here.
and will jump in and do anything to help them. And it doesn't matter. You bring snow cones to a summer program, 107 poppets. If I say, hey, I've got a crazy idea, he gets excited and jumps up and is like, okay, what are we doing? So on behalf of me and all of my babies for the summer,
Oh,
I wanna say thank you for
That was to one up our award. But there is that. Michael, anything you'd like to share in just in working with the program or?
Well, I mean, I'm just thankful for a boss and pastor and that gives me free reign to say, let's do some crazy things for the gospel and for people. I'm just thankful for a savior that died for me and changed my life. And I have some teachers in here that are probably like, what in the world is this hooligan doing? I'm just overwhelmed by God's grace and just in my life, where he's brought me from where I was. Nobody's too far from Jesus for Jesus to save them. That's
Thanks, Michael.
Michael.
Add your picture for that.
On public record.
Get some pictures.
One, two, three. And one, two, three.
Thank you.
Take that one with you. Hang that one.
Okay.
Now, who's receiving first? Okay, so Michael's also representing tonight the Sand Springs Local Church Network as well. And again, as I have opportunity to travel around our state and around the country, working with communities and churches specifically, we have a unique thing here at Sand Springs with a great cooperation of local churches who really do invest in our community, but definitely in our schools and are there just upon call when needed. And so it's really great that we have that relationship. We're thankful for superintendent and principals and site leaders who reach out and who give opportunity for the community altogether, but specifically the churches to come and be a part of what's happening here in our school system. And so Jamie has also just recommended an award to the local church network as a whole, who support our summer programs, providing snacks for students during the month of June. Without their support, we would have to seek out donations elsewhere or buy them ourselves, which can be very time consuming and costly. We appreciate the partnership the local church network has with our schools and our extended learning programs during the summer hours. And so, Michael, we just, you would pass this on. He's also on the board for the local church network, serves as an officer in that. So you would pass this along to the local church network and let them know we're grateful in the school system here for their work and for their partnership. And just put in my little plug, church local, just like shop local. Man, our local churches are the ones that are really making a difference here. In
Rusty, I'm just
our
going
schools.
to ask.
Yeah, please do.
Saying that much, but I can't help myself because you said during summer hours, but it really doesn't matter what hours. That's the beauty of our community, but specifically that group, because it doesn't matter what it is. I mean, it could be at midnight. I mean, seriously, any kind of emergency or anything that goes on, it's just they're right there. So
I was on the phone with Matt Barnett, and he's been instrumental in this. And I mean, between him and Michael, they're 8 and 9 o'clock at night phone calls. Hey, I'm short some snacks this week. And he's like, all right, how many kids do we have? Does anybody have an allergy? And they're at the door the next day. So it doesn't matter. They're just, I don't know.
there's no parameters.
Those are, yes, that is my crazy tribe. It's us three.
I don't know if we need additional pictures with this one as well.
Hold both of them, yeah.
Yeah.
One, two, three, and one, two, three. Thank you.
missed a couple of very special things that we do as a district, and we don't do it very often, but when we recognize someone who is extremely special, we give a coin of excellence. And tonight, we're going to give a coin of excellence to Barbie Jackson. Please come on up here and join me. Superstar doesn't really describe her well because she's so much more than a superstar. She got a tremendous support from her family. She's got tremendous support from her peers. She's got tremendous support from this district, and she gives a lot of it back. And Ms. Durkee made a nomination for the very special coin of excellence. And what it says, I'll read that first. It says, think right. That was Charles Page's his thing that he told us to do it. And that's so special that we do it. It says, challenge minds, inspire hearts. And that's what we do at Sand Springs Schools. And nobody does that better than Barbie Jackson. She's just she's a true Sandite. She is a Sandite. Went to school here. She said, this is where I want to raise my family. This is where I want to plant my roots, and I want to make a difference. And oh my goodness, what a difference she makes. I'm gonna read what Ms. Durkee wrote. It says, Ms. Jackson has been a consistent warrior for students in our district and has been determined to provide her personal best to all of her students, not just her students, but all students. They are better because of her service to our district. She is innovative and willing to take risks and think outside the box. Her willingness to connect with the TRSA, which is the Tulsa Regional STEM Alliance, and apply for additional funding for her classroom is phenomenal. Ms. Jackson does not allow lack of resources to hinder her motivation to provide the best for her kids. She goes above and beyond to make things happen. Her latest endeavor has allowed her access an additional $5,000 for improving her own knowledge and bringing new and innovative resources to her classroom. She is amazing, and I'm extremely proud of her. What she did was the Tulsa Regional STEM Alliance, and you may have to help me with this, has awards that they give awards to an elementary teacher, a middle school teacher, a high school teacher, an administrator, and then an overall award. She won the elementary award and she won the overall for Sand Springs Schools. And some people want to refer to her as the butterfly lady, but more than that, she just takes care of whatever is needed. She just does it. So Barbie, you are so special. Thank you for what you do. Ms. Durkee, you might want to add some.
I don't know if I can elaborate much more, but she just goes and gets it done. That's all, without complaint, and she understands that kids come first, period, end of story. I mean, that's the brilliance of it. Whatever kind of times we live in, political nature, I mean, we have an election tomorrow, everybody should go vote. But it doesn't matter, because if we keep the mission in front of us, and that's the best goal for kids, that's what she does well. She just makes sure the mission is right in front of her, which I admire and love so much.
She's just a special person.
Absolutely.
Miss Sharon wrote a letter or for a newspaper article. And it is also, if you want to check out more of what Barbie has done, it's wonderful. But Barbie, thank you. You're special. I don't know. Special. Oops, you know, we gotta get pictures.
1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Well, I've got a twofer on this one. I'm going to ask two guys to come up and join me, Mark Garrett and Mike Stevens. And these guys, I mean, they make a difference everywhere they go. They're on the fields with our athletes, but they also in the classroom and in the schools are really making a difference. Stan Trout has recommended these guys to receive an award tonight. And he just says this, that Mike and Mark are both new to CPHS this year. Mr. Garrett is a new supervisor for ISI, and Mike is here to provide behavioral support to specific students as needed. Both of them are hugely positive voices for our students. Students seek both of them out for their help as they navigate the sometimes confusing and challenging hallways and routines of a 6A high school. Additionally, Mr. Garrett and Mr. Stevens make themselves available to administration to help with hallway and cafeteria supervision, additional presence during passing periods, and help with individual students in crisis situations. In short, Mark Garrett and Mike Stevens make CPHS a friendlier, more efficient, and most importantly, safer place by doing their jobs consistently, conscientiously, every hour of every day. Mr. Ray, Mr. Vivian, and I don't remember how we ran the building without them. Those are high marks. So, these guys, man, if you just see students interacting with these guys, you'll see their smiles on their faces. They feel important. They feel loved. They feel safe around these guys. And I'm grateful. Just even my son was in ISI, I think, last week. That opportunity. He's a chip off the old block, has the laundry in him, and so kind of does his thing. But I'm grateful for these guys, their influence over all of our students. But I'll just say from my perspective, man, specifically young men, and I'm just grateful for their investment. Mr. Trout, would you like to add to anything?
Well, yeah, I think two things about these kids. First of all, the fact that they are first year at Charles Page High School, that they've stepped right in to make such a difference. That's not easy to do. I mean, you add up the staffs of the Freshman Academy and CPHS, we're talking about 125 people running around that building and 1,700 students or so. And they have immediately made themselves a presence and really kind of leaders around the campus. So that's really positive. And then the second things, we just don't believe in just pushing students who have challenges aside. We believe in mentoring them and bringing them along and helping them to succeed, whether they're facing behavioral or academic challenges. And these two guys are really, really important at that. And they take it to heart, and you can tell that they love the kids and love what they do. I appreciate both of you very much.
You guys like to say anything?
I'm from here, I'll say this, it's a life changer for me. I came whenever my wife, thank you so much, let me become a coach. That was my first and foremost goal, is to become a coach and really set my time to retire from the job that I had, in construction forever. And then Carrie brought me in to work at the Clyde Boyd. And what I found is not only do I love coaching, I fell in love with all the kids, helping the kids. So I might retire from coaching, but I might keep on staying.
You need like 5 years notice before.
Oh, thank you for believing in me, and thank you for giving me an opportunity.
I'm just very grateful to be at Sand Springs. I come from a different high school and a different setting, and right off the bat, I could tell it was different here at Sand Springs. I gotta tell one little favorite story on our superintendent. My first year, she come in, I was at Pratt Elementary, my first year with Sand Springs. I was asked to put the sensory room back together, and I did, and she came in, she wanted to see it, so I walked down and I had this blow up canoe that was going to be a reading center and just kind of a place for kids that were having a tough day where they could get in and sink down in it and just kind of recharge the batteries. And she says, "What are we doing here?" And I said, "Well, I got to find a compressor that's big enough to blow this thing up." And she said, "I'll be right back." And she takes off and goes, and a few minutes later she comes back, and here she carrying a compressor in her hand. And I thought, well, she's just going to like hand it to me. No, this turkey comes into my room, gets on the floor and helps me blow this up. I mean, hands-on is the type of superintendent that's willing to do whatever it takes for our children. And that said a million things to me right off the bat. So that's always been huge to me. And I'm just very grateful that I'm here at Sand Springs.
We're grateful as well. Mr. Trout, this picture will look a whole lot better with you in it. Join us if you.
Can I just say one thing? These guys get relationships, and I know it will be one thing, but honestly, in a nutshell, if you want to know what they do well with the kids that maybe a little past, but maybe a little bit harder to be around a little bit, that's what it's about. It's about the relationships I build, and they love them anyway. And that's the whole point. Love it.
All right. One more, 1, 2, 3. Thank you, Jenny.
There's one more.
Okay, Angela Code. Come on up. You're the next contestant.
Okay. I don't know if I'm gonna say this right, but we have is it all the cogs and the wheels that help it spin? anyways, Angela is one of those cogs. All the people that do custodial stuff, our bus drivers, child nutrition people, all these people are like the unsung heroes that everybody, kind of glances over from time to time. But anyways, we're gonna recognize Angela Coate today. Kind of the big admin team are the ones that nominated you. So we're talking about Schlehuber, I always get this bad. Beard, Roder, Durkee, and Arnold. And so they say, Angie is currently taking care of the custodial needs of the JM building and the new central admin building that houses enrollment, child nutrition, and SSVA. This is the virtual academy, excuse me. She consistently goes above and beyond her job description in order to ensure each of these buildings are pristine. I am struggling, exclamation point. She has been known to sweep grass clippings from the windowsills of the Enrollment Center after mowing and was even seen venturing out to the roof to clean windows from the outside. Angie worked so hard to keep our building spotless for the public, and her efforts do not go unnoticed. So thank you so much.
I always appreciate those things, but you walk out and they're cleaning the windows, not just, brushing over the corners and it's just
I would also say she's very stealth, like you really
don't know where she's at.
She's been there, but.
So yes, Sandite Pacesetter Award. This certificate is awarded to Angela Coate for outstanding achievements and accomplishments in representing Sand Springs Public Schools and the community at large. Thank you, Beyond. Thank you so very much.
One more, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Excellent. Well, as much as we would love to just continue celebrating people all night long, that would be so much fun. But what allows us to have such great celebration is the detailed work that our administration and this board gets to do to set up an environment for such great things to happen. And so if you're here just for the celebrations, we welcome you to stay for the riveting part of the business section of our meeting. But if you would like to make your exit now, this isn't correct. Thank you. So disappointed every time. You're a ring. Thank you, sir. I'll spread out.
Thank you, guys.
It's really helps. You can show up on the camera.
A little awkward. Oh, you're on the camera.
So that's what I'm saying.
Oh, the camera's on that side. Okay. Guess I figured that out.
Yeah.
We're going to move on in our agenda. Item number 7 is our discussion and review of instructional strategies in alignment with our district continuous strategic improvement plan goal of student empowerment, staff empowerment as well.
So we get some hurrahs occasionally from the State Department of Ed, and it sounds silly, but Mr. Roder, I noticed I spelled his name wrong in my notes. It's a T, by the way, but he does district testing coordinator, and that seems to roll off my tongue as if it was not super lot of work, but the truth is it's a whole lot of work, and you get occasionally an opportunity, much like the opportunity to be in detention or whatever. This is an opportunity, wink, wink, to show compliances. And so you get that letter back that says in compliance, and it sounds so menial, but I sent it to Jay and he emails back and goes, man, that feels so good. And then about 2 days later, we have another compliance that we have to meet for our assessments. So Carrie Slahuber is getting ready to go into that ordeal as well. But it is a big feat to get that in compliance, much like accreditation. That's just a little bitty letter with a little bit of, few words, but it means a lot. So yay for Jay. He's amazing at what he does. And again, OAB, we are going to be monitored this year. So that falls on the shoulders of Carrie Slahuber this year. Do need to mention item number 26 in the consent agenda. This is a little atypical, and we can talk about it when we get to that agenda item, but just to precursor that here. we are asking the board to approve a service agreement with Tulsa Public Schools, and this is unique. Honestly, in the time I've been here, I can only remember one other time that we've done a service agreement with another district, and that was with Anderson Public Schools to Sand Springs. But there are occasions where a student's needs are better met at another school. And in this particular case, the student has moved to Sand Springs, but has been served in Tulsa for quite some time. And we felt, number one, it would be more cost effective to actually pay the service agreement to TPS, because we would have to hire some staff to take care of his needs. But the other part of it is, it really is in his best interest, because he's been surrounded by folks that have a specialty in that particular those particular needs. So just know that that's a service agreement that we typically don't ask the board to approve, but one that would be in the best interest of a child.
Sure, what's the advantage in him not just transferring to that school?
So here's how that works. Because there are special needs, we don't enter into a transfer agreement. The IEP dictates all services that goes into a child with disabilities. And so by law, we do a service agreement versus just a straight up transfer. And it allows the receiving school to be compensated somewhat for the services they're going to provide that is above and beyond what would be typically delivered to a student. And so I think it's a win-win for both districts, honestly, and certainly a win for the student. So I felt like a little bit of an explanation was needed because it is atypical. And then also item number 31 includes the transfer policy change. We're asking for board approval tonight under first read. It's required by law. Basically, the SDE came out with additional rules that basically states that a transfer approval is a transfer approval is a transfer approval. So originally our policy had indicated that if a child transferred to Sand Springs Public Schools as a virtual academy student, if they requested a brick and mortar placement, then they'd have to reapply. We can't, that's not allowed per the law. So once we accept that transfer, whether it's virtual or brick and mortar, they're accepted. So that would be a change in our policy that's required by state department rules. And then the other piece that we added was just a connection to the special education rule for transfers, because even in the new law, the rules for special education transfers did not change. We wanted to make that really clear in the policy. So any questions?
That's what I'm at. Transfer student to TPS. Are we responsible for the transport of the student?
I don't believe we are responsible. Yeah.
No, he's getting picked up at the house and taken there and stay.
And the parents are agreeable to this, I guess?
Right. It's through an IEP team meeting, so it's agreeable between both parties. And honestly, I think the parents are better served.
Sure, no question.
So that would have been, even if we hadn't entered into a contractual agreement with TPS, that would have been likely something they would have requested.
And in that regard, we do a joint IP team meeting. So if I was in on that meeting, and we also get ADM
Right. So we collect, right.
for that student.
So we collect the average daily membership, the state aid for that student. And then we in turn, under the contractual agreement, write a check to EPS to cover the services.
All right. I think we'll have some questions on the item number 34, but we'll wait till we get to that point. On anybody else on item 7? Item number 8, then, our goal of resource innovation.
Right. So Jeannie Kavach is back in town. I'm so excited about that. She actually submitted a board report for the ongoing work with Dick Watts. If you read her report, just a status update on what's going on in the work that he's doing, which is a lot. We have completed the PE Jam. It looks amazing. I think Rod Sitton posted a video of that space on social media not too long ago. So that's in completion. And then of course we're working on the 3-story remodel, and it's going quicker than what I thought it was going to go. And they're doing an amazing job. And the conversion of that building is going to be fantastic. So if you've seen the enrollment center, I think most of you have seen the enrollment center. the finishes for that building will look similar. And of course, what I think the most excited about is the new boardroom, which won't have this window, but it's going to be pretty fabulous. So that's coming along soon. I suspect next summer will be the move-in target date. Hoping that we can convert more meetings to that space by next summer. So again, more to come on that one, but I was glad that she was able to do that report for you all. Revenue report from OASA and Vernon Florence. Again, looking at state revenue that continues to be up. The big, I think, concern, and I think Ms. Newby would also agree, is inflation. When you have flat funding from the State Department of Ed, or the legislature, what that means is that sounds really good, but at a 20% increase in inflation, the money doesn't stretch as far. So that's what we're looking at. We accounted for that in the budget, the first revised budget and the original. So we think we have it covered. But again, from gas prices to supplies to all of those things, it's just incredible. So, and I know everyone's feeling that in their pocketbook personally as well. So that's the big we have to make sure we're paying attention. And then lastly, we're confident we'll be able to offer the 3% stipend for board approval in December, as we usually do in the month of December. That would be contingent on an agreement that they would tell us early in the spring semester of their plan to exit the district. So it's been a real winner for us because we've been able to post positions early, meaning that we have a larger applicant pool usually than we would if we waited. So, any questions about resource?
If not, we'll move on to item 9, empowering families and communities.
You may or may not have watched District Dialogue. But we did go ahead. October was bullying. What's the word I'm looking for? I said prevention. What did I say the other day? I don't remember. No, let's stop that. Anyway, a month, and so we decided it would be a good time to do an open dialogue with some of our counselors. So Kendra Roulette and Ashley Canterbury and JJ Smith, one of our principals, and then Kristen Arnold joined me, and we talked about just all things bullying, harassment policy, how we see that unfold at school, the investigation piece of that, and really the big message I hope parents received was the encouragement to partner with us. So if they're seeing things that feel atypical, we can't address things that we don't know about. And so that was kind of the big message, that we for sure don't want to see that kind of behavior. We don't condone that kind of behavior, but we also need to be a partnership with our parents. And so that was posted a couple weeks ago. And then with the other, kind of communication with parents, conferences went off without a hitch in October, and we always have really great participation. So that was a win as well.
Questions, comments? Item number 10, health and safety.
So I attached the meeting agenda for November. I know JJ and Kristen canceled the safety meeting for October with lack of agenda items, but everybody knows that.
Yeah, and for a year or what's required, but we try to meet monthly.
Right. Which is not required, but it's just been a standard. I did want to mention that we have a collaboration meeting with the Sand Springs Police and our resource officers this week, just to make sure that as Jamie said, the cogs are turning and we're doing things the way we should be, reviewing protocols. Officer Parman attended an SRO conference a few weeks ago and learned a few things that I think are helpful for us to review. And so just so you know, we always try to make sure that we're working together. We also are using some additional funding from one of our federal grants. It's a standard grant to hire 2 new behavior techs / paraprofessionals for our elementary sites. So I believe that posting went up about a week ago. And the idea is we have a north side, so Northwoods Garfield would share a behavior tech, and then the south side schools would share an additional person as well. And then again, the Safe Schools meeting agenda is attached. We did send out a note. We've installed clean air detectors. Also, they detect vape, by the way, at Clyde Boyd Middle School. And we'll be talking about the possibility of installing these at CPHS, by the way, that worked really well.
Just curious.
So I have to say that out loud publicly, because I don't want to do that.
Okay, don't say it then. I just,
Yeah, they're
Is it smoke detector is what
concealed.
it
It's
is?
like a smoke detector. It also will detect carbon monoxide as well. So I hesitate to say vape detector because that's not how they're marketed. Because they do several things, but they do detect vape, including marijuana as well.
Did you test that?
I didn't test it, but it's really not.
Yes.
But there is app on your phone, and when those go off, they get a notification immediately on the phone. And so and it pegs the location. So which is very good. So it's saving our administrative team a lot of time investigating. I mean, that paired with the new cameras that they have that are pretty clear, pixelated, it's been a coup for our admin team there. So sent the information to Charles Page High School, and I'm letting them review it too. You guys are so mean. I know. It is against the rules.
Or smoke than the boys.
Exactly. We're baby. Exactly.
All right, any other discussion on item number 10? If not, we'll move to the consent agenda.
So a couple things that I want to point out. Item number 24 is the approval of board meeting dates for fiscal year 23. We reviewed those last month. There was a little bit of discussion, if you all will recall, on one of the months, Monday versus Tuesday. We ended up leaving it on a Monday. Beth, do you remember? Labor Day. Labor Day. So that would have been the month of September. And I think we had consensus last month that Monday would be, or Tuesday would be okay. We left it for Tuesday. So that's on the consent. And then, again, item number 26 with the, agreement with Tulsa Public Schools. And I think most of the rest of them are pretty consistent with what you've seen before.
I think just on that board meeting day, just note, those dates that it's not the first Monday. That's for me to need it here more than anybody, but there are a few actually throughout that it's not the first Monday due to holidays or shares things. And we also had a little bit of discussion about time of meetings.
Right, I just threw out the idea of 6 o'clock. I think what I heard, I thought, and we can, of course, that's up for debate with you guys. It's up to you all. I just threw out the idea of meeting at 6, and I think I heard feedback last month that preferably it would be left at 7. So that was the intention. I'm open to whatever you all want to do. It's just an idea.
I know 6 was definitely too early. 6:30 I think was questionable, so 7's fine.
It's not a big deal.
I just saw this full house tonight
Sure,
that I'd hate to change it and then somebody can't make it because it's too hard to get in.
right, right. Oh, totally get it. It kind of is a trend I'm seeing with board meetings across the area, so no big deal. So my intention is to leave it at 7.
Anybody, any other things on the consent agenda?
I don't think so, unless you ask questions.
There are no questions. We would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll move we approve the consent agenda items as listed.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Call for a vote, please.
Mullins,
Aye.
Wagers,
Aye.
Ronan. Aye. Dunn.
Aye. Moving to our action items. We have item number 28 and item number 30, both proposed executive sessions.
So can I explain that?
Yep.
So we always learn something, it seems like every year. Bev attended board clerk training with OSSBA. And they really suggest separating temporary, because teachers are the only ones that get temporary contracts. And so we have the ability to do that. And they stay temporary for 2 years, and that separation for clarity, number one, and transparency. So that's the reason those are
Yeah,
separated.
so I think that's fine on the agenda. And as far as practice, would it be okay for us to combine those two for
Absolutely.
the motion sake and
Yes.
discussion?
Yes.
So do we have anyone who would like to propose an executive session for item number 28 or item 30? If not, then we'll move to item number 29, which is the proposed approval of the employment of a temporary teacher at Clivewood Middle School, special education for the 2022-23 school year.
I will move to approve employment of a temporary teacher.
Motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? Call for a vote, please.
Mullins,
Aye.
Wagers,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
and
Aye. Move to item 31, which is the proposed approval of employment recommendations. There are several listed there, 4 different locations.
I will move to approve the employment recommendations.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? Call for a vote, please.
Mullins,
Aye.
Wagers,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
and
Item 32 is the discussion of possible board action to pass 2023 annual school election resolution.
So this is an annual item as well. So every time we have, which is every year in December, of the opportunity for someone in the public to file, then we as a board, you all as a board are asked to approve the resolution.
I'll just question real quick, being routine, is there a reason we don't put that consent agenda?
It's, same old same. We've been used to do it's a pattern, so
Okay.
it's always been,
Just curious.
it's unique, it's once a year, so.
Okay.
We could do either, actually.
I'll make a motion that we approve the 2023 annual school election resolution.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Call for a vote, please.
Mullins,
Aye.
Wagers,
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
And
Can I just ask one question? When is the election again? It's
So
gonna be in,
if there are more than 2 candidates, then it is in February, the
February or
primary, and
April.
then April.
Okay,
If there's less than 3 candidates, it'll be just in April.
but I could remember the February.
All right, item number 33, approval of the resolution authorizing the lease purchase agreement with Huntington National Bank.
Right, so this is much like a revenue lease bond where you have to approve that resolution every year. Because remember, we purchased the video board on a 5-year contract that was a revenue lease at 0% interest. So what happens is you'll see this item on the board agenda each year until that lease purchase agreement is paid off with Huntington National Bank.
What if we vote no? Let's take it down.
You have to take it back. At least a portion, like 4/5 of it. They have.
The rest, yeah, I think we go.
Yeah, it's-
Y'all can't see it behind you. It's pretty nice. I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution authorizing use of a lease purchase agreement with the Huntington National Bank, of Plymouth, Minnesota.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Call for a vote, please.
Mullins,
Aye.
Wagers,
Aye.
Wagner. Aye. And
Aye.
Okay.
And now item 34, the proposed approval of the student transfer revisions.
So any questions, you might have?
I had a question. Have we, would we anticipate we would see someone try to come in the back door?
No,
Is that-
I don't think so. I mean, our policy was suggesting that we couldn't do that, and that's erroneous. That's not how the law is read nor interpreted by the State Department of Ed. So not really. I think the worry was early on, if we were over capacity, having someone come in to be virtual only and then have to switch over, we were a little bit worried about, because we're at capacity in a lot of our grade levels, which is a great problem to have. We had a discussion with our leadership team about the growth, and I don't ever want to take them down the growth. And so the idea is if we would get to a place, like we tried to hire another first grade teacher at Garfield, for instance, and ended up hiring Paris instead, because finding a certified teacher late in the game is hard. So the magic is going to be when we get to a place where we start making a determination of what our capacity is for next year, making sure we're posting and hiring the people in advance so we don't have to eliminate transfers. So our goal is to grow. We just had a portion of our policy that wasn't.
So we still have a goal to grow the virtual.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I don't know if that causes us to push pause or
think so. It's interesting. Number one, Mr. Rutherford's amazing. So he attracts clients, I think, for lack of a better way to say that, which is a good thing. But I don't have the current number. I mean, I didn't ask, but Jay, your enrollment right now has
425.
425. And you started the school out with,
275.
How many of those are 100% virtual?
It's about half, and it just kind of fluctuates back and forth, but right around half are full virtual. And I mean, that includes kids who may do a TCC class, but all of their other classes are virtual. So we consider them blended, but they're never really on campus at Charles Page High School.
We're not seeing a huge influx. The majority that are wanting to transfer in as a virtual student are wanting to transfer as a virtual student. And so it's a small number. And I think Mr. Roeder does a really great job. If it was at this point in the year, he would say, let's finish the semester virtual and then
I think,
start in the spring.
well, I think when we wrote that policy, that was a little bit, we didn't know how that was going to all pan out. So you're writing a policy kind of thinking through what could be potential obstacles or cause some pain in terms of growth. And it really hasn't been. So I don't know if that's a worry, which is a good thing because ultimately we couldn't have done that anyway. So, yeah.
Okay, well, any other discussion? Not, I would entertain a motion to approve that policy revision.
Make a motion to approve the remaining policy FE student transfers to add to the district policy manual.
Motion
Second.
and a second. Any other discussion? Call for vote.
Mullins.
Aye.
Wagers.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
Gann.
Item 35, the approval to establish a savings account with American Heritage Bank.
Right, so one more account for us to manage for Miss Nudie, but because we have a payment system with Infinite Campus that comes with fees, just for management of clarity with what we're getting for, say, child nutrition, I believe child nutrition and insurance for Chromebooks. No, that's not true.
Right now, it's child nutrition and AP fees. Chromebook insurance will be next year along with Chromebook repairs.
So as parents can do that, we needed a clearer method of making sure we knew what the fees were and what the money that we see coming into accounts was. So we're asking for approval for a savings account for the fees to go into. It's like a pass through.
I'll make that motion to approve that, new savings account.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion?
I'm going to explain because I wasn't following it. But it's for the kids, the
Right, exactly. Well, so if you,
folks that.
right,
Card processing fees for any transaction. So we made it a high enough percentage that we won't ever lose money, but we also, obviously, we don't want to make money off of our parents. This is a convenience for them more than anything else.
say want to use a credit card.
And this will make our auditors happier.
And I also wanted it to be a savings account versus checking. I do not want checks written off of that account because it's meant to be a clearing account anyway. So if it ever gets, if the balance, again, we've set it to where it should be negligible on what's in there. But if it ever does reach, for example, $100, then I would authorize the bank to transfer it into our general fund. But I did not want it in a checking account.
Any other discussion? Call for a vote.
Mullins.
Aye.
Wagers.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
Gann.
Any matter that could not have been reasonably foreseen prior to posting of this meeting?
It's not.
Okay. Any announcements other than Sandite football Friday night right here, playoffs?
Playoffs starts at
Go
7 o'clock.
vote tomorrow.
Go vote. Heathers, go vote. Go vote, go vote, go vote.
All right. If there are no other announcements, then I will make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
That's the first motion you made tonight.
So we'll call for a vote, please.
Mullins.
Aye.
Wagers.
Aye.
Wagner. Aye. Gann.
Aye. Thank you all so much.